I have a bunch of 90s songs that I want to break down. Easy chords for the most part. We're going to abuse a capo to get around some tougher chords. I'll show you versions with and without a capo. I love these songs. They're really good for jam sessions, and I've played some of these out at gigs. They are definitely beginner friendly, and a lot of them are one chord progression and one strumming pattern throughout the whole song, which makes them super easy to do tons of fun stuff with. So without further ado, the first song is going to be Bittersweet Symphony. I'll show you how to do it with a capo. First, on the 2nd fret for some slightly easier chords, we'll be doing a D chord here, and then an A minor 7, which is an A minor without your ring finger. It'll be an open G string for an A minor 7, and then a C sus2 might be a new one. For that, I play, for this song, it's a C chord with an open D string, so no 2nd finger down like you would normally, and then I have the 3rd fret of the high E covered too. You could play it as a C add 9 with no index finger down. It's technically also a C sus2, but for this song, I play C sus2 like this. And then it's a G chord. And you just loop those 4 chords. And you can just run that. You can run that for the entire song. My strumming pattern is going to be a down, 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 up, 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 for the entire song. And that is it. With no capo, it will change the chords a little bit, and you'll see why I changed it. It'll be an E to a B minor 7. D sus2 is a D with an open high E, and then an A chord. So we're capoing to avoid the B minor 7. I know some people aren't going to like that one, although it's a good idea to learn your B bar chords anyway. But that's it for Bittersweet Symphony. The next one I want to look at is Hey Jealousy, and I'm going to capo one more time for some easier chords. We'll capo on the 2nd fret again, and it'll be C, D, E minor, D. And that's the intro and the verses. For the chorus, we'll go to a G, C, that's it for the chords. You know, throughout this video, anytime I'm using a C chord, usually if it's a standard C, you can also throw it in as a C add 9 if you want, especially for songs where they go back and forth between G and C. So this is an example of a song that's convenient to do with. For the strumming pattern, it'll just be a down, 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 up, down, up, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. For the entire song, you can get away with that. You come in big on the intro, maybe you back off on the verses, a little less volume, big chorus, you know, back and forth like that. A little bit of dynamics in the volume helps to differentiate the parts when it's the same strumming pattern and chords for 2 different pieces, like the intro and the verse. The chords without a capo are just going to change a little bit. D chord to an E, and an F sharp minor to an E again. And the chorus will be A, D, A, D, F sharp minor, E, D. So obviously we're capoing there to avoid the F sharp minor, although I don't think that one's too bad. I've played this one out at gigs before, and I discovered the easier capoed version much later, so that's why I'm including it. But this one's not a bad one to just try that. Try that F sharp minor out and see if you like it. If you don't, totally capo it if you want. But that's all you'll need for Hey Jealousy. Okay, next I want to look at She Talks to Angels by the Black Crowes. We're going to skip the big fancy intro, but if you want tabs to that, I'm happy to link it in the description. Our first chord is going to be an E. And what we'll do to get the sound that they have on the track, because they're tuned in open E, very different, is we're going to play E sus4. And we're going to go back and forth between E and E sus4. E sus4, I'm just dropping my pinky down on the G string on the 2nd fret. And I'm dropping that, picking it up, dropping it, picking it up. That's the easiest way to get the same sound that they kind of have for the intro and the verses. And that's all it is for the intro and the verses. It's down, 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 up, down, 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 down. And that's it, because you sing between those patterns you basically ring out and then sing and then play the pattern, ring out, sing, play the pattern. That's how it goes for the verses. When you're going into a chorus, you kind of swell into it with the E chord. So our first chord aside from the E is going to be what I am referring to as an open B chord. I don't know the official name, but it's basically a B power chord. From the 2nd fret of the A string, it's 2, 4, 4, but we'll have an open B and high E string. So that'll be our next chord. And then we'll play an A sus2. And then we're back into that same pattern with the E. That'll be your chorus. That's essentially, it's just B, open B. And then I'm kind of palm muting and just chucking there. Another way you could do this is you could go way up the neck on the 7th fret for the B chord and play like a major power or major bar chord shape, but still the open. So it'll be 7, 9, 9, 8. Totally up to you which one you do. I know that when I take this out at gigs, I just play it down here because I'm being lazy. But this sounds a little better because you're using the whole guitar. Again, totally your call. It's the same, in terms of the chords, it's the same either way. So it'll be B, open B, A sus2, which is an A chord without the B string being played, so it's an open B string again, and then E. So all of the chords have an open B and high E string, which is why this works. The strumming pattern for the chorus is going to be down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 down. That's what I use, and then I just loop it back around. Down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 something like that. The one part where it changes is kind of a bridge. She Don't Know No Lover, none that I ever seen, something those lines where it's just the A chord and then the E chord. A, E, and then you finish it off with the B open. And it sounds like this. Down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down. You do that 3 times total, and then you end all down strums, down, up, down, ring out, right back into the E. So we're really abusing 2 or 3 patterns with just those 3 chords. That's all you need for the whole song. It ends with another verse, you play out the E pattern, and you're in, and you're done, essentially. That's the end of it. So that's She Talks to Angels. The next song I want to look at is a song inspired by She Talks to Angels called Let Her Cry by Hootie and the Blowfish. It's a nice and easy chord progression and strumming pattern, and Darius Rucker talks about how he listened to She Talks to Angels and then immediately wrote Let Her Cry, which is really cool. So we're going to start with a G chord, to a D, C add 9, G, and then we'll loop back onto a G. So it starts with G, D, C add 9, ends with D, starts with G. You just loop that pattern, and generally for the first note to open the song, that's what I'll do. I'll just hit the G chord, or the G note on the low E string. The strumming pattern is going to be down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Sometimes I'll do something slightly different. Usually, if I'm going to do anything that's different than that, it's something like down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. Totally your call. The first one is what he uses when he plays this live acoustic. The second one is what I default to sometimes. Your choice. They both sound really good. So the chorus is going to be C, C at 9, G, C at 9, E minor, G, D, C at 9, G, D, C at 9, we ring out, and then G. Right back into that same pattern. The strumming pattern is more or less the same for the chorus, except for that quick change part where it goes through that E minor and G pretty quick. So from there, it's kind of an E minor, G, D. So I'm doing 3 strums per chord. Yeah, I'm doing 3 strums per chord. You might have to spend some time on that quick change to get it to sound good, because you want to stay in time in terms of the rhythm of the song. You don't want to go off time and get kind of weird, but either way, it's not too bad. It's just an E minor, G, D. The fingering's not too bad because you just kind of switch one finger between E minor and G, and then you're on your D chord. So C at 9, E minor, G, D. And I'm going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, D. But that's it. So that's the whole song, verses, chorus, intro. That's all you'll need for that whole song. Next, I want to look at Counting Blue Cars by Dishwalla. This is the Tell Me All Your Thoughts on God, that song. Everyone kind of knows that line. Great song, super fun to play. So our first chord is going to, I'll show you how to play this with a capo on the 2nd fret to avoid this B minor, but the first chord is going to be a B minor with an open high E. So it'll be from the A string, 2, 4, 4, 3, open high E. And then we're going to go to an A sus4, which is just an A chord with the 3rd fret on the B string. You could just play a standard A chord here if you wanted to, but I use A sus4. And then a G chord with an open high E. So it's B minor, and this sounds like this. Strumming pattern is going to be down, 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 up, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, up, down, 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 up. That'll be the intro and the verses. In the intro, you could do the quick change. They go back to an A chord for like a second and then the B minor, but I just always play B minor, A, and G. And then for the chorus, it's D, E7, G, full G. My strumming pattern is going to be down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up. And that's it. After the chorus, they ring out on a B minor, and then they get back into it. So one thing you'll notice I'm doing is I'm completely lifting my hand off between chords sometimes, and that's totally fine to do. It usually blends in really nice, and no one notices that you're just kind of playing open strings for a second there. But that's essentially the whole song. B minor, A, G for the intro and the verses, and the chorus is a D, E7, and G with a slightly different strumming pattern if you want it. Now with a capo, all we're switching up, well, we're avoiding the B minor obviously, but 2nd fret capo, and that'll change the chords to A minor, G, and F. Now F is a more difficult bar chord, admittedly, but what we can do to get away from the bar chord is just play a piece of it. So the sort of fake F that I do this all the time, a lot of people do this all the time, it's just a 3, 3, 2, 1 open. It's a variation of an F major 7. And it sounds great. It totally works for the song. So give it a shot if you want, but it'll switch the chords in the intro and verses to A minor, G, and then that fake F major 7, if you want to call it. It's a real F major 7 chord. But I use that, and then for the chorus, it's C, D7, and then that F chord again. So for this song, pick your poison, you know. either you play that weird F chord and then a D7, which I think is a little more awkward with capo, or without, you can try that B minor and then an E7 is super easy. It's basically 2 fingers and you just don't play, you have an open D string. So it's easy. But that's all you'll need for Dishwalla's Counting Blue Cars. Try them both ways and see what works better for you. All right, next is a personal favorite of mine, classic 90s jam. It's Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind. I saw them do this live. It was super fun, great show. And you really only need 3 chords for this, and it's like 1 or 2 strumming patterns, very easy. So we're gonna start with G, D, C add 9. And that's the strumming pattern he uses for the intro and the verses and the chorus, essentially. So it's down up 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 down up. And then what I'm doing, at one point I'm hammering on the 3rd fret of the high E while I'm playing that D, the last strum of the D chord, right there. Right before I go to the C. It's a C add 9. And that's it. I mean, you can play sort of a muted or quieter version of that during the verses, too. And that's what they do when they play it live acoustic. You could do something completely different with the strumming, too. You could just do like a... something more reserved and pulled back with less strums, totally up to you. There is a bridge part where it's kind of like Let Her Cry, or it's kind of like She Talks to Angels, where they flop back and forth between 2 chords. So it'll be D, C add 9, D, C add 9. I'm just doing down, 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 up, down, 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 down. And they do this twice. Once it's long and once it's short. For the long one, they extend it with a G, and then they go back into it. But it's just D, C add 9, D, C add 9. They do that a few times, and then they extend it with G, and then they run the same pattern back. So it's mostly D and C add 9 with a down, 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 up, down, 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 up. There is one weird thing where it's not quite a chord. It's a C add 9, but it's strummed out, and it's kind of, they walk down the root. They do it toward the end, and then they finish the song with this too. So here's what I mean. So it sounds like this. All I'm doing is I'm walking down the root of my C add 9 chord, but I'm leaving it open on the D string, kind of like what we did for the C sus2, sort of. So it'll be, sorry, you can't see, it'll be like this. So I'm just strumming, I'm plucking individually the strings, the A, D, and G strings, and then I'm walking down, I take my index finger, go to the 2nd fret on the A string, and then I'll take that same finger and drop it on the 2nd fret of the D string. And I'll strum that out. You do that a couple times. And you can get right back into the pattern. If you listen to the song, it's really obvious where that is, and that's what they're doing. It took me a little while to figure that out, but that's all it is. It's just kind of a walk down of a C add 9 variation. And that's the whole song. That's all you'll need for Semi-Charmed Life. All right, this next one is super fun, really, really easy. What's Up by Four Non Blondes. It's got a female lead vocal, and you know, if you want to play, if you have a female voice, if you are female, most of my viewers are male, but if you play this song with capo on the 2nd fret, you can straight up sing the exact vocal line they do. More power to you if you can hit those notes, because she's way up there. But it's with a capo, we're just gonna need a G, A minor, C, G. And the strumming pattern for the entire song is going to be down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And I just went to this G, 3-finger kind of standard G that looks more like a C chord because it's an easier transition. One thing you can do to mix this up a little bit, because it starts with G and ends with G, is you can just drop your You can drop your index finger on the first fret of the B string to kind of mix it up. I think that's a G sus4 or something. Restart the pattern. I think this song, more than most of the others, it's important to actually maintain this strumming pattern throughout because it's very distinct. The only time anything changes is the very end. It doesn't even change in terms of the chords or strumming pattern. The feel changes. It becomes like a bouncy kind of... the very end. So you kind of, if you know about notation, if you can read music, it goes from straight eighth notes to triplets, kind of, with a rest on the middle note of the triplet, like eighth note triplets. It changes, but it's just kind of a bouncy, but almost like a jazzy feel a little bit. But that's the very end. Same strumming pattern, same chords. So if you want to do this one without a capo, you'll have to engage with our friend B minor again. So it'll be an A, B minor, but straight up just the whole B minor chord. D, back to an A. Now one thing you can do is play it with the actual chords, the G, A minor, C, G, but do it without a capo and it'll take the vocals down a whole step, so it'll be easier to sing. I played this one live with the girlfriend a while back, and we did that because the high notes are insane. But if you can play it in its own key with the actual chords, more power to you. So that's all you'll need for What's Up by 4 Non Blondes. Okay, for the next song, I want to do Linger by the Cranberries. I think it's a great song, but the Cranberries have a bunch of hits, and there's a couple more, Zombie and Dreams, that are just one chord progression and strumming pattern throughout. So I'll list those two songs as well in the description, what to do. I'll include them in the next video if I do another round of the 90s, but for now, I'm just going to keep it with Linger. And Linger has a bit of an intro. It's just the D chord strummed out, the highest 3 strings. And then you play with an open G string. That's all it is if you want to do that. But for the chords, we'll be using a D, A sus4, C add 9, G. The strumming pattern that they use is down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. I've played this one at a gig before, and I just default to a different strumming pattern. I usually default to something like this. Up to you, whatever you want to do. My brain goes to something as simple as possible whenever I'm playing and singing it. Totally your call. But that is literally the whole song. So you just kind of back off a little bit in the verses, a little louder in the chorus, and that's it. That is all you'll need for Linger. Okay, next I'm gonna do, it's a 2-chord song. It's What I Got by Subime. There's a couple ways to do this, but if you just want to do it the way they do it live, you just need a D and a G. And literally when I've seen them do this live, it's just down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 where they play the whole guitar, both chords, and they stick with that down, 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 up strumming pattern. That's it, the whole song. That's it. So if you want to add some finesse and go a little extra for this, they kind of pick it out on the recording. It sounds something more like this. And it's really easy to do, and I'm just hitting 1 or 2 strings per strum, but I'm playing essentially what is a D sus2, and I'm not really hitting the high E. My first pick strum is the open D string, and then I'm hitting a G note, a G root on the low E string, and I'm lifting my index finger and I'm dropping my middle finger on the 3rd fret. And I'm going back down to the same strings, the B and the G string. So you can do something like that too if you want. Totally your call, but they both work, and believe it or not, that, aside from ringing out in certain places, jumping back in, that's all you need to play What I Got by Subime. The last song I want to look at is Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. It's got a B minor in it that we can't really avoid with a capo, but we can kind of play around with it and use the open high E version if we want. But the chords for the intro are going to be D, E minor, G, B minor, A, G. And it'll just be a down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, 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 down. It'll be that strumming pattern for the intro and the verses. Also the chorus, but for the chorus we're only using the B minor A G part, so we're just looping the second half of that pattern over and over again for the chorus. Now when you're playing this and you're singing and everything, I don't know if you noticed, but the way I was doing it was I was playing and just kind of a couple empty strums there between the chords. That's how a lot of people get away with their transitions. They don't have to be super clean. You can just transition with a couple of empty strums. Where you either play or just open strings. It doesn't sound clean in isolation, but when you're just playing, it's totally fine. Professionals do it. It's not a big deal if you do. So that's all you need for Iris, except there's a slight change in the strumming pattern for something that we can do. This song is tuned very differently from standard. We're not going to tune in anything different for anything in this video, so we're sticking with standard tuning. Again, that bridge, you can play just 4 quick strums and a mute. And then I'm kind of hammering on for an A sus4 there. And then I'm playing a G. And I'm playing it down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down there. But that's it. You got D, E minor, G, B minor, A, G. Now B minor, for the record, I think it's worth investing some time in getting good at that one. It's not as hard to play because you're only using 5 of the strings, and it's a very versatile chord, B minor or B minor 7. It's used a lot, so I think it's worth learning and getting good at. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a lot of fun with these songs. I think they're a great representation for the hits throughout the 90s, but I am totally down to make another 90s songs video if anyone wants it, and I think I'd like to do more decades. The 80s had tons of, I mean every decade has, but good stuff. So yeah, I'll do another one of these if anyone wants it, or if anyone thinks this one was good, if this one goes over well. And yeah, that's it. Thanks very much for watching.